If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am ensconced in the SHR Media beautiful studio. It is both simultaneously sumptuous and palatial. Doesn't get any better than that. And this is the best part. This is my favorite part. It's cool in here. Ooh, 100 degrees out there. It is July 17th, the year of our Lord 2018. And you got to belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Snowball is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is, in fact, lighted to my left, your right. That means that you are listening and chatting at shrmedia.com. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and YouTube channel. Those are great places to be. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the damn toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. What up? Glad to see everybody. Already it's a semi-packed house. And I don't mean like the truck. I mean like good to see Traveling Cynic, the cynic who travels. Glad to see Mike John Pasqua. Great to see Whiskey Dale. Now tonight, we have another very special guest for you in the first hour. We're going to talk about some happy stories first, because there are 3 that I'm thinking of in particular. And then after that, calling in at 8:15, about 10 minutes from now, is going to be Dan Bennett. Now, you may or may not know him from his little place on Twitter. He's part of the Twitter world where he is known as @Dannerism, DANNERISM. And I have been conversing with him for quite some time, and I just thought, hey, why don't I have this guy on? He's funny as hell on Twitter, so obviously that translates to, well, he's going to be funny as hell in person. So, okay, Dan, if you're listening, I've already set the bar for you, so just thought I'd put that out there in the ether. Traveling Cynic says, evening. Oh, and TC already said he met Dan on the Tribble Cruise. And great. I can't wait to see. Now, I have not seen his show. Well, no, I take that back. I've seen part of his show, but I haven't seen much of his show. But during the when I post the show, after the show tonight, I usually post it by about 11 o'clock Pacific. Then I will include a YouTube video of Dan at work. I've watched part of it, and it's pretty damn amazing. But wait, we'll get to that. And then in hour 2, we're going to talk about what you really didn't hear at Helsinki during the Helsinki Summit. Something that the American media maggots, imagine that, just amazingly, conveniently forgot to talk about and forgot to pick up. What a shock. Absolutely shocking. Not. Let's see, Wednesday, I believe, as far as I know, Wednesday, Sackheads Clan is going to be here, and I will be back on Thursday with a return of author Jim Curtis, who's written a whole bunch of stories. And speaking of stories,
it's time for happy stories and good times.
I just noticed this one. This is from CBS News, and the headline goes like this. Man walks over a dozen miles to first day of work. CEO gifts him with a car as thanks. This is a wacky story. It was supposed to be Walter Carr's, get it? Nice name. Walter Carr's first day of work with a moving company, Sunday, when his car broke down. But instead of calling out, he walked through the night to be on time. Carr's vehicle stopped working the night before his first day with the moving company Bellhops, and he knew he couldn't miss it, so he decided to walk. Now, Carr began his hike from Homewood, Alabama, to the town of Pelham, Alabama, at midnight. He walked at least 14 miles before police picked him up at 4 a.m., says a CBS affiliate. Now, once police heard his story, they took Carr to brag. This is, again, great. Yeah, everybody hates cops. Once police heard his story, they took Carr to breakfast. Then they gave him a ride the rest of the way to the home of the Lamy family, who he was scheduled to help move that morning. Carr arrived at the home of Jenny Lamy and her family before the rest of the movers arrived. I asked Walter if he wanted to go upstairs and rest until everybody else arrived, said Lamy in a Facebook post. He declined and said he could go ahead and get started. So the family and Carr began packing up the home, chatting along the way. Now, Lamy discovered that Carr and his mother were from New Orleans but moved to Alabama after losing their home during Hurricane Katrina. He looked at me in the eye and he smiled, and I felt that I'd known him much longer, wrote Lamy of the pair's interaction that morning. The rest of the crew arrived later in the morning, and Lamy insisted Carr share the story of his grueling plight with the other movers. Walter said, I walked. That was it. Humble, said Lamy. I asked him to share a little more, and when he did, the crew was in awe of him too. I don't know what Walter would have shared if I hadn't asked him to. Lamy shared the story of Walter and her move on Facebook, and the post quickly went viral. And word eventually got back to the CEO of the Bellhops Moving Company, a guy by the name of Luke Markland. Now, he put out this is a tweet. He says, this is an incredible story. The grit and heart Walter showed defines Bellhops culture precisely. I'm really proud to be on the same team as Walter. We set a high bar on service, and he just raised it. Looking forward to thanking him in person this week. But Markland did a little bit more than thank Carr. Now, I saw some video of this. He gifted Carr his very own 2014 Ford Escape, according to WIAT TV. So the guy persevered, and Carr got his own car. Then there's this headline, which I think this will take you back to the previous administration. At least it should. The headline on this one is, Conservatives cheer IRS rule. Anyone remember Lois Lerner besides myself? Conservatives cheer IRS rule change, shielding donor lists from disclosure. Now, that was a big thing. I think that was in 2014, right around in there. Conservatives today hailed a move by the IRS to stop requiring certain tax-exempt groups, including politically active organizations such as the National Rifle Association, to identify their donors. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said it was a victory for free speech and a straightforward, common-sense policy decision. It's particularly welcome news to those of us who are intently focused on defending the First Amendment. for those of us who raised concerns during the last administration about activist regulators punishing free speech and free association. Mr. McConnell said on the Senate floor the IRS will no longer pointlessly demand private contributor lists from whole categories of tax-exempt organizations. That was not the policy before. That became the policy under Lois Lerner, under the Obama administration. And the purpose of that was to attempt to, as much as possible, destroy people, or at least disincentivize, I should say, them from signing up for some of these lists and becoming donors, because what occurred from this was leftists who have all the time in the world to do these sorts of things because primarily they're unemployed or they're extremely young and unemployed and or go to school and or they don't give a crap, one of the two or three or four, would show up at the homes to protest someone who did nothing but donate a couple of $100 to, I don't know, name a cause on the right, the NRA, for example, and attempt to make purposely their lives a living hell. So that was that. The Treasury Department said the policy change will maintain donor disclosure requirements for traditional charity groups organized under Section 501c3 of tax laws, but it frees labor unions, advocacy groups, veterans organizations, and other nonprofits, such as Planned Parenthood, that do not receive tax-exempt money from complying with the decades-old confidential disclosure requirements. Americans shouldn't be required to send the IRS information that it doesn't need to effectively enforce our tax laws, and the IRS simply does not need tax returns with donor names and addresses to do its job in this area, said Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Some conservatives have objected to revealing the names of private donors to the government due to the potential for harm to those people. And a final happy story. And when I was on the Ken McClinton show last night, I tried to see if I could squeeze this in because I would, or maybe he talked about it before I even got there. That's entirely possible too. But I wanted to ask Ken about this, and this is from his newspaper, from a newspaper from D.C. Ken McClinton is another radio host, and I jump onto his show Monday nights for about 15 minutes or so, and he asks me some questions, and we both poke fun at each other. This is from the Washington Examiner, and the headline is Black Conservative Leaders Call for Censure of Maxine Waters. And Ken is a black conservative leader, and I was curious if he covered the topic. I couldn't tell, but I wanted to ask him about it, but damn it, I just ran out of time. The story goes like this. A group of conservative African-American figures, including Star Parker, gathered on Capitol Hill on Thursday, that's Thursday of last week, and called on House Speaker Paul Ryan to censure Representative Maxine Waters, Democrat of California, of course, what else? After she called on her supporters to confront members of President Trump's administration in public. This is a dangerous and unhinged call that signals to liberal activists that violence is a preferred way to demonstrate this disagreement, said Jonathan Alexandre. I tell you what, we're going to do this. And tell you, Dan, hang on just 1 second because I got to put you through another patch here. Okay, so let's pair this up. And that's connecting. Okay. So, Dan, how about now? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. So you said the Skyplane isn't working.
Yeah, I called it, rang about 15 times, nothing happened.
Okay, all right, got it. Well, thank you very much. Hey, that's why BZ always has a plan B.
Good, well, yeah, we have a plan A, a plan B, a plan B, and a plan A called ABBA.
That's right, and you also have to plan A, B1, B2, B 2.0, 2.1, etc. So, enough of that stuff. We'll get back to the happy stories perhaps another day. Tonight, I want to say this. We have the distinct pleasure of talking to what I consider to be a true Renaissance man, Dan Bennett. whom I've been retweeting, like I said, on Twitter for a whole bunch of years now, for quite some time, let's just say that. And I've been occasionally replying to him simply because his one-liners on Twitter are so damned insightful. First, number one, I want to make sure that everybody finds him. He is on Twitter at Dannerism, Dannerism. Now, remember, comedy isn't funny unless there is truth within. And there is truth with Dan Bennett, which is why I love his tweets. Now, you kind of got to search for him a little bit, and that's okay because I found as much as I could about him. Dan Bennett's Twitter profile indicates he's a comedian, mathematician, juggler, conservatarian, hey, just like BZ, a teacher, an observer, a patriot, and a performer of antics and semantics. Now, having never met anybody who can juggle both comedians and mathematicians, that in and of itself is incredible, and this is a common theme that I'm sure you've heard for a long time. Now, I've seen people juggle mathematicians only. I've seen people juggle comedians only, but never the two. But I found probably the best summary of Dan Bennett is at the SRO Entertainment Network website, where he's described like this. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. While earning his bachelor's degree in mathematics, Dan worked as a teaching assistant in the math lab, not the meth lab. Folks, come on, clean up your brains. The math lab. His love for teaching soon spilled over into tutoring with comedy. Now, eventually, Dan was holding workshops in calculus and mixing mathematics with humor and juggling. While lecturing about ballistics, he devised the object lesson, now so central to his performances. Check this out. Catching a bowling ball with his face, and thusly, a show was born. Now, Dan began headlining on the major cruise lines and in comedy clubs. Dan's appeared on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Arsenio Hall, and other talk shows, and he set a course in that direction and pretty much never turned back. He's been featured in some 30 commercials for global corporations. His trademark counting with Roman numerals has been used in conjunction with the Merck Corporation to promote product visibility. But listen to this. This, I think, is way cool. Dan has 4 gold medals from the International Jugglers Association and is in the 1990 Guinness Book of World Records for numbers juggling. These skills are indispensable in his performances as a science and math variety comedian, and he has been the keynote comediantic at several mathematics conferences. Now, hence my phrase, okay, Renaissance man. Now, without further hesitation or aggrandizement or even another solitary word at all, phrase, no argument, no point of objection, I'd like to welcome tonight's guest, Dan Bennett, to the saloon.
Well, thank you so much. That's so funny. I was going to use that line, and you were great minds think alike. I tell people I'm a comedian juggler. The really smart people say, how many comedians can you juggle? So that's funny. Anyway, people ask me what I teach. I usually say idiots. So I can't claim that. Somebody told me that. I got asked that on a cruise a couple of months ago. I met a teacher, and I asked him what he taught, and he said, idiots. I thought that was so funny. I go, I cannot believe I have not thought of that or heard of that. So, yeah, it was great. But that was a great introduction. Yes, I taught for a while. I started doing ridiculous object lessons. I did funny things for my classes, counting in Roman numerals. I used to tell jokes like, if you took everybody who slept in math class and laid them end to end, they'd all be a lot more comfortable. That was always one of my favorites. Yeah,
I would agree with that. So
I'm sorry, I barely made it here. You're lucky. I literally just flew in from Seattle. Where the sky is blue, the air is fresh, the grass is cheap. So
it's not so cheap in California.
I know. Can you believe that? That's happening everywhere. It's amazing.
California is screwing up dope. Just like you thought that somebody with a capitalistic bent would definitely be able to sell, ice in hell. California wouldn't be able to do that. Oh. They wouldn't be able to bring that up. It's the stories I could tell, since I happen to know somebody who works for the state in that local arena. So
they should go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, they could solve just about all of their problems if they would just for a few years ignore, just as an experiment, all the political correctness, global warming hysteria. There's just mineral wealth up the wazoo, drilling offshore. But that is just so anathema to today's ponytail, man bun wearing conga line of libtards who infest that place. I mean, they're so obsessed with global warming. It's just amazing. In Florida too, for a while. I mean, it's just amazing. You know, all the people in Florida, you know, they'll play 15 bingo cards at once, and they can't mark a presidential ballot. You know,
That's true. That's true.
I mean, if Al Gore took a dump in the woods, would he still be full of crap? I mean, it's just incredible.
I would agree with that. Hey, you live, if I'm not mistaken, you live somewhere in Arizona. So
I live in the Mesa area.
So how are things there today besides like boiling and hellish? Or, I don't know, or are they boiling and hellish today?
Dirty little best-kept secret about Arizona, and I know it's cliche, but, you know, it is a dry heat. Yeah, but so is an oven. Everybody's heard that. I would rather be here than, say, Florida, where it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Florida for a lot of reasons, but it's so humid. There's no humidity here, and it rains quite a bit here more than people think. It does get very hot in those middle summer months, but right now it's a monsoon season, and at least 3 times a week a big cloud cover blows through, and there's a torrential downpour. We just had a monster storm come through here a few days ago. They call this big dust storm they call haboobs. I love that. It's a great name for big dust storm. I know, haboob. It's crazy. This big wall of dust comes flying through, and it rained. There were 70-mile-an-hour winds that knocked down trees. I've never seen such a thing. It does happen that we get monsoons every middle of the summer, and there's a few other small rainy seasons. Now, we have had a drought lately, but there's more rain in the Phoenix area than people realize, and you're 2 hours from anything. You can ski. It's a great place. I moved out here about 11 years ago. My wife's from here. I met her while she was traveling to NLA through mutual friends, so I moved out here. It's pretty nice out here. I kind of like it.
Now, I went to Arizona. Let's see. I went to attend a conference teaching me about serial killers from a guy that used to be a profiler with the FBI. And while I was there, I went I went to Phoenix, of all places, and I learned some interesting things about Arizona. And you mentioned floods in the desert. And one of the first things I noticed is that when you're out on the highway away from Phoenix, and like I traveled to Sedona and I went to the Grand Canyon, there are all these little funnels and concrete waterways and whatnot, and lots of signs that say something similar to stay the fuck out of the waterways and the ditches because floods can occur at a moment's notice. And that was so counterintuitive to me. I thought, you guys must be on acid out here on Arizona. Floods? Give me a break. Yeah. But you're right.
2 years ago, I was driving out by one of the Indian casinos. I can't remember which one. It was just 20 minutes outside my house, and I saw this rainstorm wall coming towards me. And in 30 seconds, I was engulfed in the worst torrential downpour I think I've ever seen. I actually saw animals walking 2 by 2 heading for a giant boat. It was that bad. It was unbelievable. My car was clear up to the water line came clear up to the door. There was standing water. My car was shaking from the wind. I couldn't see 5 feet, and I was half an hour stranded by the side of the road to wait for that monsoon to pass. You can occasionally hit the worst torrential. And if you're in any of those ravines, water comes down, those things, I can't believe. And if you are dumb enough to be hiking or camping in there and it says don't go there, you always think you're a tough guy. I was scared in my car. That's how bad this water was. Yeah.
I believe that. Yeah. Now, here's a funny story I tell about Arizona, especially in Phoenix. 2 things that I learned because I was in law enforcement for a long time, and I was in law enforcement taking that class then also. And one of the things I noticed is that Phoenix, I don't know if they've changed, but they make their guys wear dark blue uniforms. And I thought that also seems way screwed up. As a result, the other thing I noticed is that all the young guys work day shift and the older guys work at night, which is the exact opposite of every other department. The other thing I noticed, which was wonderful, this may have changed too, is I didn't see any homeless people. Of course, it was the middle of the baking summer. And I didn't see any stray dogs or anything like that as well. So I don't know, maybe they get boiled during the day.
People
but I went
get into trouble. people get into trouble leaving their dogs outside out here. I mean, it can, pugs especially. We had pugs for a while. They breathe funny. You got to let your dogs in the house in the middle of the summer. They don't like it outside.
No kidding. I can certainly understand that. Now, this I also find interesting. If you go to Dan Bennett's Twitter page, at Dannerism, DANNERISM, you're going to find numerous photographs from all around the world because, after all, Dan gets to jump aboard cruise ships, and you get to visit various ports of call and entertain the guests at night on cruise ships. Do you still do that, sir?
Oh, yeah. I got back from Alaska about 2 weeks ago, and I'm headed out for Alaska this Sunday.
So
one of my favorite places.
You're like the modern 20 or 21st century like nomad then.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's this whole circuit. I kind of fell into it. I literally got a call, 27 years ago, from someone who was an upstart agency. They're huge now. And one of their entertainers had, recommended me, and I was still finishing up grad school. And I was on a ship in 2 weeks. All I had to do was 15 minutes. And after a few months of that, several contracts, I developed an act, and I was still teaching kind of thing. And I just literally kind of walked into this thing, and I kind of started to decide, I don't know if I want to be a full-on professor and run around and, spend 20 years trying to get tenure or get fired. So I kind of shifted gears, and that's what happened. And I never looked back. It's been great.
So is that primarily your gig now, is performing on cruise ships?
Cruise ships are like a staple. I can always kind of scare up gigs. And I also do one-night appearances, corporate events. I do retirement communities around Arizona. And occasionally I've done a bar mitzvah. I've done a bat mitzvah. I've done kind of business finance meetings where you open up the meeting and you do 20 minutes to 30 minutes of just kind of techie fun stuff to warm up the crowd before their big rah-rah speaker comes on. So, yeah, it's kind of, 3 or 4 markets like that. But cruise ships are always kind of that thing you can always kind of rely on. I need to book a bunch of them. Tell my agent, hey, book up a bunch in the next few months and then get some time off. And then I work on other markets like retirement communities and corporates. But yeah, I would say it's a pretty nice market. So
what you'll end up doing is you'll book a bunch of cruises back to back then. You won't just go out on one and wait a month and go out on another. You'll do a whole bunch in sequence?
Yeah, it's kind of random. I'm doing 3 weeks in a row this time. A lot of the time it's just 1 week out, maybe a week home, maybe 2 weeks out, 2 weeks home. Sometimes I fly in for 2 or 3 days, so they just need somebody really quick. Sometimes it's just 4 days. Sometimes it's 10 days. There's cruises that do in the Pacific, Hawaii to Tahiti. But I would say it's not terribly unlike being a flight attendant, except a little longer runs, a little longer stay homes. I will have been home about 3 weeks this time, and I'm going out for 3. That's a little bit unusual. Typically, I'd say a week on, 2 off, 2 out, 2 home. That's kind of more or less what I do.
Now, on which cruise lines can you be seen, or do you have a contract that just locks you into one, for example?
No, I've worked on all the major cruise lines. About the only one I haven't worked is Carnival. Right now I'm working a lot of Norwegian, a little bit of Princess. I used to work mostly Holland America and Royal Caribbean. Then they just kind of cycle acts, and an agent thinks you're hot over here and they want a lot of your dates. So I'm not exclusive to any one line, but I typically for 1 or 2 years work mostly 1 or 2 lines.
Okay.
That's typically what happens.
All right. And I've been 3 times on Holland America, and I really enjoyed Holland America. Then I went on the first Disney cruise of the Magic. So I enjoy that. I enjoy being on the ship as much as that's concerned. So when let's see, we got about 2 more minutes for the bottom of the hour break. And maybe we can start this now when we might have to wait to complete the answer after the break. But maybe you can give people a sense of what is in your performance. What are people going to see?
The way I like to describe it, and it's like a title and a subtitle, like a book. The show is called Antics and Semantics, Diagonally Parked in a Parallel Universe. That's kind of the subtitle. So I do a little bit of stand-up. I do some unique juggling routines, audience participation, sort of some fast-paced, kind of quirky throwaways like a Robin Williams, Steve Martin, and then kind of a little bit of sass and smart alecky, oblique references, maybe like a Dennis Miller. And it's all kind of rolled together in like a big, fast-paced comedy variety extravaganza. That's kind of probably the shortest way to describe it, but I like those two titles, Antics and Semantics, Diagonally Parked in a Parallel Universe. It's kind of...
The chat room, by the way, Dan, I should tell you, is arguing back and forth and say, he's married. And somebody else saying, no, he's not married. He can't do that and be married.
I love it.
And then they're saying, yes, he is. No, he's not married. I talked to him. Yes, he is married. No, he's not. How could he do that and be on a cruise ship and still be married?
Oh, my God. That is hilarious, because I'll let him keep talking about that. But one of the things I deliberately do as a matter, because it comes up on the show, is I misdirect several times as to what the real truth is on that, because I get a lot of mileage out of that. I do some jokes that would seem like I am, and then some that seems like I'm not. And it's on purpose. And it's funny if people actually think that, because that's exactly what I try to do. That's hilarious. So you want me to hold off on the answer till after the break, or I could spill the beans on that now?
Perfect. Yes, let's do that. Let's hang on till the break. Folks, we are listening to Dan Bennett, he of At Danerism, one of the luckiest guys in the entire known universe who gets to do a performance act on cruise lines. I mean, my God, what job could be better than that? And room and board, and he gets paid.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny, on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
the
thingies. Those
what?
Things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
Against
go.
Against tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello. I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network, to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
You are listening to the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com and you can listen and also slip into our chat room if you want to watch. You can watch the show on the SHR Media Facebook Live page or the SHR Media YouTube channel for all to see. And again, we are talking to Dan Bennett, he of at Dannerism, a great guy, a comedian, a juggler, a mathematician, a teacher, all rolled up in one. And what we'd asked before the break, Dan Bennett, is that a lot of the people in chat are saying, with him being gone for months at a time, he can't be married. And other people are saying, well, I think he's married. I talked to him, and I think he's married. And other people are saying, no, he can't be married. What would his wife think? His wife would drop him immediately. So, okay, we got to ask the question then. Are you?
Well, I'll give you two jokes. One is, I can't trust my girlfriend at all. I know for a fact she's cheating on her husband.
Ah, okay, perfect.
Joke number two. Best way to remember your wife's birthday is to forget it once. Yes, I am married. I do travel. I dated long distance for 4 or 5 years with my wife. We've always had this kind of back and forth thing. Never been an issue at all.
Perfect.
No one's life or marriage is perfect, but I don't have that issue with jealousy of time. It's just a really good thing. I can accept a gig on a hat, and I leave that night. It happens. It's just how I pay the bills. And then sometimes gigs get canceled. I'm home. I'm home, a week or two, and I'm gone a week or two. That's just the gig.
It's almost
and
like
my wife's name is Naomi, by the way.
Oh, and, hello to Naomi. Good to meet you.
And she's very funny. When we were dating, she's told me, my name backwards is Imone. I thought that was hilarious. She always says that I'm Dan, which is DNA all mixed up. She's really some clever stuff because I'm strong enough for a man, but I'm made for a woman. So
perfect.
Yeah.
It's all fun and games at night, but on a cruise, what do you do during the day?
There's certain ports where I just absolutely love. Like I said, I love Alaska. I'm a mountain man at heart. I love walking up there on the tree line, looking at the snow and the glaciers. It's just there's a cold sweater weather feel. Sometimes it's hot, but I like that drizzly overcast. I just enjoy. I literally just totally get into mode. I get off the ship early, love to walk around all day, just sit in a little cafe, and I thank God every day. I just love looking at the beauty of the majesty of Alaska. I never get tired of Alaska. Then I do my mathematics. I'm still working on this big project. I write jokes. I practice routines, and I maybe a couple nights during the cruise I'll work. Sometimes it's 3. I'll do the game shows. I just practice the craft and try to come up with new ways to manipulate objects and take old jokes and craft them into a new routine. So I'm plenty busy.
I've been on the Inside Passage, and I'm guessing that's the one you're referring to. I went on Holland America. We went in September. It was the last cruise of the month. And you're right, it's gorgeous. The rain, the drizzle, the fog. We actually watched a calving glacier and watched the waves from that. It was great. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. Now, on that line, though, tell us some cruise line secrets. Maybe a little insight. Should we avoid the kippered herring, for example?
Well, you got to be careful. Hiking. Make sure you don't accidentally get engaged to the chieftain's daughter and end up at a potlatch.
Perfect.
It's very easy to do. Yeah. You go into a Klondike buffet. You have an Eskimo pie or something. Boom! You have no idea you'll get hit with a lawsuit. They won't let you leave, and you end up having to sleep in an igloo at 60 below. And boy, conjugation is not that easy. They call it winter course. It's just a nightmare. You don't even want to go there. But I'm just throwing all kinds of jokes out there. I have no idea if the audience is laughing. But,
The chat room is very silent, but that's their job because they're typists, not talkers.
Oh, that's funny. Well, it's very close to Russia. You really can't see Russia from anyone's house up there. But, the Russians apparently were meddling in our elections. They also meddled in the Olympics. They took the gold in the three-legged race. Some guy from Chernobyl won that.
I can't imagine that. So if you're going to take a cruise, for example, for the first time, what do you think an important thing for people they want to take a cruise, they've been saving up for it, and any tips for like a first-time cruiser? What should they be aware of, cognizant of, something of that nature?
Because I'm always – I don't know that it's anything different than going to a hotel. You don't need that as much as you think. Certain places you might want to bring a binocular because, you can spot – especially Alaska. Looking at some of the scenery, you can spot bald eagles. Usually there's combing their feathers over their head, not fooling anyone. But you can see bears, orca, and the glaciers. The Caribbean kind of speaks for itself. You don't really need a lot. Just a couple of light – guys always wear just a couple of light slacks and bring sunglasses and headgear. It can be hot in the Caribbean. It's a floating hotel. And if you forget anything – you might spend a little bit more, but you can usually buy socks and underwear and toiletries on the ship. You don't need to overpack. I think the first-time cruisers probably overpack just because they're excited, but you really don't need much. It's a floating hotel, and you go to places, and if you forget small little things, you can buy them. You don't need to go crazy. That's what I think. I've never really thought that you needed to bring a ton. But, maybe binoculars, that's something people don't think of. Maybe, if you're way into cameras and stuff, obviously people like to take pictures, but you can buy all kinds of stuff on the ship. But that's what I found anyway.
You mentioned Trump, and that kind of transitions over to politics a little bit. With the current political atmosphere these days involving what I call the comedy Gestapo, how have you, I don't know, or have you had to change your routines to kind of keep yourself out of political prisons?
It's a tricky call. There's not a hard rule about what you can and can't say. You just have to use good judgment. You don't want to go out there and do an overtly political show, but it's okay if you do it good natures to just throw an elbow here or there. And I like to kind of do a cheap joke on each side just so that I don't look partisan, even though off script and you get me talking on the side, I am a partisan. But, I have friends on both sides. I try to avoid it. But here's one of my favorite jokes. I do this joke every show because it's not really political, but it touches on it. I say, I've been up all night watching Netflix. There's this new show about the presidential transition of power from Obama to Trump. It's called Orange is the New Black.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's funny, I get a reaction. People go, ooh, and I go, what? And I love the after joke apology. They say, what? Not political? Come on, folks, that's just funny. Let's talk about something non-controversial, like the NFL. And that always gets a laugh. Hey, I still think the first athlete to take a knee was Tanya Harding. Then you get a little rough with that.
See, that's why comedy is funny, because you marry it with truth. That's what puts the funny into comedy. So,
absolutely.
Since we're talking about comedy, the other thing I got to pick your brain is this. In your opinion, who would be, I don't know, off the top of your head, say the 2 or 3 best or funniest stand-up comedians that you can think of?
Man, there's so many styles. I'll tell you, early when I was just a kid, I used to think Steve Martin was the funniest thing in the world. He was it was just that absurd, just stupid, weird, complete absurdist and just dopey with props. And then I have a little bit of that in me. And then, Robin Williams, I liked him early on. I kind of moved along. He was just so zen and so fast putting stuff together. I really like the sassiness and smart aleckiness of Dennis Miller. He just tells a really clever, and he got political for a while, but he kind of went back. But his monologues are just dripping with funny words, allusions to old movies. And the thing I love about some of his stuff is you don't even have to necessarily 100% get the joke. You just know it's funny because he hypnotizes you. He says these smart, elegant things. And some people don't like him because he got a little political. He kind of went from maybe center left to center right after 9/11. I get that. But he's really good. And then there's just clever guys like Jim Gaffigan. They just have good, funny, drawn-out stories. He talks about cake forever. You know, I watch different comedians, and I just go, wow, he's using such an interesting formula. And I look at it, and comedians hardly ever laugh at other comedians. They just watch them, and they nod and go, that's funny. And they just they look at formulas, and they marvel at how, wow, I can't believe that's an interesting way he's doing that. And then just watching the news and regurgitating it in a funny way is hilarious, you know. And you just say something happened in the news and nod your head, and people laugh. It's amazing to me what people will laugh at.
Now, some people say that stand-up comedy is dead. Like, for example, Jerry Seinfeld. I heard him weighing in the other day on going to college campuses, and he won't even try going there anymore. I don't know.
100% true. I hate college student shows. I've done a few. I did one a couple years ago, and I heard all the stories. I couldn't believe. I mean, it's not dead, but college campuses, they in general. I know there's someone out there listening to me. Oh my God, it's generally true. I even said the word marriage in the setup of a joke, and like 4 women on the front row just audibly, like I was going somewhere negative. They just can't hear the simplest thing. I mean, but don't get me started on the snowflake universities. I mean, those people, you know, they get a smiley face by their name if they spell it correctly. If they come in third in a 2-man race, they get happy points.
Yeah.
You know, and then they go to a university and spend $200,000 for a major they can't do unless they teach it. You know, and my thing about them is 3 out of 5 college students are just as stupid as the other 2. You know?
That's absolutely true. And intramural underwater basket weaving, that was something that was really popular for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So people should follow you on Twitter at Dannerism, DANNERISM, and you make a ton of consistently really insightful and sometimes just knee-slapping funny stuff, one-liners. What might be some of the favorite tweets that you've made that you can recall?
I don't know. I may have put some of these on there. A lot of them, a while back when I was really doing it more, I've kind of just taken like a slower pace lately, but I go through periods where I'll just tweet every day and try to think of something. Sometimes I comment on people's, but I may have tweeted any one of the following. I may have said, you know, for Bill Clinton, foreign affairs was dating someone from out of town.
True.
You know, regarding Obamacare, even lesbians are required to have an individual mandate.
That's a good one.
You know, I got carpal tunnel syndrome, you know, trying to log onto that healthcare website, you know. Then I saw a sign at the bottom of the screen that says, if you have a log on for more than 4 hours, consult a physician. We shouldn't make fun of Obama. I mean, he had 4 million people at his inauguration, but only 11 of them missed work.
That's funny. I said that in the opener, as a matter of fact, about people
you
protesting.
did? Oh, that's hilarious.
Something similar to that.
Okay. I went on a walkathon for plantar fasciitis.
Jesus.
I was born with a broken arm. I was trying to hang on till after the wedding.
Oh.
Doctors Without Borders is a fine organization, but I still prefer Nurses Without Boundaries. Any one of those. I got a million of them.
I got a million of them. Back into politics, because we got about 12 more minutes to go. Have you ever, in your life, seen or been witness to a political climate like exists today in the United States? I never, ever have. Or I could not have featured this coming.
We are... It starts out, I mean, everybody knows that the left was just so blown away with the head explosions when Donald Trump won. This thing was concocted. I mean, you can reconstruct the emails. It's very clear there is a dark, shadowy intel people and FBI and DOJ people trying to take him down. And the point is now is the only course they have is to go continue into the storm. And I believe that the Mueller probe's falling apart. I still don't trust that he's not going to keep pulling things. They keep announcing indictments when it's politically convenient. They're trying to hamstring Trump every which way. They're setting him up. No matter what he says at the summit, it's going to be bad. Not that he didn't say it really poorly, but if he goes the other way, they get mad at him for being irritated. The deep state has no other choice but to continue to fight him. Struck on the stand the other day, he's just going to double down because they can't look weak. This is a fight to the death. This is a cage match that's never going to stop. It cannot stop. And Trump is correct. I believe there's politics and then there's the legalisms about the Mueller investigation. Honestly, Trump is right to do everything he can politically to undermine it because Mueller is no matter how, I can't stand it when people say he's a straight arrow. Everybody said that about Comey. Everybody said that about the DOJ Inspector General guy. I forget his name.
Rosenstein.
Yeah, there's Rosenstein and the Inspector General. Yeah. And then they come out and they do this weird little head fake at the end, and they go, what? How did he do this conclusion? Then they get taken apart in the congressional investigations. But I'm telling you, Mueller, he can't do something overtly ridiculous like make up an indictment when in discovery it falls apart. But he can issue indictments to people he knows aren't going to appear, like he did with those troll farms. And now one of them showed up and wanted a trial, and they just know what to do. And it's all politically timed. Mueller is fighting back politically on the outside because he needs to make Trump look weak so that he can issue a report with just a little bit of flavor in it that the Dems can grab a hold of for an impeachment thing.
Exactly.
They're fighting it on many levels. And Trump, no other candidate, no other Republican president would behave like Trump. And I submit that they would be worse off under investigation if this exact thing, same. If Romney were president right now and something similar with the Russia thing, and there was a probe against him, there's no way that Romney would be comporting himself. I just think right now the brawling works. If people think it's unseemly, it's not presidential. No, Donald Trump is president right now. It's presidential. It's the only thing he has. He has Twitter followers. I'm not saying he does everything 100% right, but by and large, Joe Sixpack, blue-collar guy who secretly voted for him because they see what he's doing with coal and steel, jobs coming back. He's getting rid of the CRA regulations, all of this stuff which is opening up. The EPA thing, that was huge when he got us out of the Paris thing. They're secretly cheering. And yeah, when he steps in a little bit, they go, I don't care. He doesn't sound like a Harvard professor. I believe him. And that's what it is. And he'll change the news cycle in 2 days. And look, we're not even talking about Kavanaugh. It's amazing. I mean, first time I heard Stare Decisis, I thought it was a Van Gogh painting. I mean, so it doesn't matter. People think it's the end of him. No, it's not. News cycle changes. And interestingly, Donald Trump walked it back today. That's fascinating because it shows that either he can listen to people behind the scenes or maybe – I don't even care if it's tactical. I don't even care. It shows the left now. They're going to go nuts about that. How ridiculous. I mean, he said, blamed it on double negative. I immediately thought Schumer and Pelosi. So it's just – I mean, there was some snarky reporter that asked him before the summit, do you speak Russian? He told him to go to Helsinki. I love it.
One of the biggest things that I pull out of the Donald Trump presidential efforts these days is without him, we would not have discovered – the true nature of Hillary Rodham Clinton. We wouldn't have found out an infinitesimal fraction of the bullshit that she and the DNC and other people aligned with her pulled. We wouldn't have found the true nature. We have discovered now the true nature of what I call the LDAM. Leftists, Democrats, and the American media maggots. They have exposed themselves for what they truly are. So just for example, with the media right now, the people that I call the American media maggots, one of the biggest questions I have is, can we ever trust them again?
No, I actually think we're at a point of it is so entrenched in the psyche now. There's a group of people that just get incensed when he says fake news. Now, I get it. There's several layers of that. It could mean a million things. He tends to be, imprecise language, but people are learning to speak Trump. They get it.
Yes.
This got you, this snarling, stinking pumas that sit in the crack and crevice of every, rock hill, and they just want to snarl and bite your ankles. And he just goes and holds rallies. And those rallies, I got to say, he largely says the same stuff. I sit back with popcorn and I just laugh because his faces are funny. He just off the cuff riffs, and he actually says some pretty funny things. And I go, nobody can do this. It's really phenomenal. Oh yeah, and we'd have never known about Hillary. It's just the craven, just watching her fall apart. I mean, at least she wiped her server. Bill Clinton didn't even pay his.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, unless you talk about the cigar. The other question I have is
the last thing she blew was healthcare.
Yeah. Is the mirror permanently broken in D.C.? Can there ever be trust in the federal government again? I mean, I get it with the media, but I think the most important overarching question is look at the damage that the federal government has done to itself, shot itself in the foot numerous times. And again, we would not have discovered that had Hillary Rodham Clinton been in there. But
I really think that this.
I wonder.
And I've had a. Go ahead.
No, I seriously wonder.
Yeah, I've had a couple of good people in the Tribble universe talk me off the ledge on this. I'll be careful what I say because he's ostensibly on our side. I don't know what the hell Jeff Sessions is doing. He has made it pretty clear that he thinks Rod Rosenstein is just the best guy in the world at 28 years of service. He apparently has been taking advice from him. Apparently, Rosenstein gave him the advice to recuse himself. He didn't go after the IRS scandal. He didn't go after the R1 brothers. And the only thing that is keeping me from not just going crazy on him, and I'll hold my tongue, because I have been so negative on him. Maybe he's playing the long game. There's a few people on Twitter that advise me. They think that could be happening. Maybe there's a bunch of indictments coming, but I honestly don't think, no, it cannot be repaired unless and until either a second special counsel, they literally need to just go after this conga line of creeps, Strzok, Comey, McCabe. I am not a fan. I don't think Mueller's a good guy at all. You look at his track record. It is begging the question to say, well, he's a good guy because of his reputation.
No, he's incompetent. He's incompetent. He completely mishandled the anthrax caper, for one.
Absolutely. And it makes me nuts. I'm not going to mention names. There are people that have conservative talk shows that just think Mueller's the greatest guy. My head explodes when I hear it. No. But he has blown so many cases. He put people in jail. His pit bull, Weissman, has just been censored. He's lost so many things. They're corrupt beyond belief. So, and until unless Jeff Sessions either puts a second counsel that says, listen, DOJ, FBI cannot investigate themselves. I get it. They're not the ideal thing. But if there was ever a case, a rare case, a narrow case, where you cannot do anything else but a guy with prosecutorial ability, subpoena power, and endless, and they need to go after these people. But if these guys, if Strzok, Comey, McCabe, all these clowns skate and they put poor Flynn, it's obvious they set him up. Even Strzok, am I got this right? Strzok even said, even Comey said this too, that they did not think Flynn lied. And by the way, he didn't know he was being interviewed. They did an ambush drive-by interview in the White House.
Yes,
and
that is correct.
It's all coming out how he was set up, and they got him on a process crime. It's just crazy. If these guys spend time in jail, and if those other guys skate, I'm telling you, their people will be livid. They know how dirty this is. It can be repaired, but there needs to be some big name fish go to jail. And I'll name them: Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Lisa Page. Who knows? Maybe she's the one that gets immunity. I don't know. There's other people. Oh, Bruce Orr, his wife. All these people.
Nelly, yes.
All these clowns and Rosenstein, for God's sakes, is obstructing justice. And that ferret smile of his ought to just be, I just want to punch him in the trachea through the TV. He makes me so mad with his sniveling, driveling incompetence. And Sessions defends him. I want to lose my mind.
That's true.
I cannot understand Jeff Sessions. I mean, hopefully there's stuff I don't know about. I'm going to reserve the stuff I wanted to say about Sessions. I'm cynical now. When he let the two biggest scandal cases go, IRS and the Awan brothers, I go, what is he doing?
Yeah, what's your threshold for logic then?
Yeah, I don't get it. The only thing is apparently he's just so tough on the border, but even then, is he really going after the sanctuary cities? He seems to have backed off.
I'm not seeing anything. And you can't afford to be a one-trick pony as an AG. Now, with regard to some of the other things that you said, and we got about 2 more minutes before the end of this particular segment, you need to get out of my head, because I've said that all we have so far with regard to the Mueller investigation is we have crimes of process. Period. End of statement. Just as you said before with the indictment, the empty suit indictment of the 12 Russians.
Right.
Well, for fuck's sake, people.
One of them challenged it in court, and Mueller wasn't ready. And that Judge Ellis, God, I hope he follows through. Come on. It could crumble right before us if one of these judges would just put their big boy pants on.
You could ask, I'd say, 99 out of 100 Americans today about the 12 indictments of the Russians, and probably, I would submit, 99 of them have no idea they're still in Russia and they're not coming back. Right. That was theater. Yeah. This is kabuki theater writ large. That's all it is. And every day, every hour, every week, I just wait for what I call the PSH, which is the pants shitting hysteria due to leftists.
Right.
And I enjoy watching leftist heads explode because they either implode or explode also on a daily basis as well. It's horrible and lovely at the same time.
Now we have the former toilet czar in the last administration. What was his name? Oh, yeah, Barack Obama. You know,
right.
Crotch monitor in chief, wagging his bony finger, doing his little sniping from the side. He's trying to gin up support. Where was he today? In South Africa somewhere, talking about something, and he's getting quasi-political. I mean, God bless him. I know he just had a colonoscopy, has a clean bill of health, no polyps, but they did find the entire MSNBC lineup.
Yeah,
you know,
and all of CNN. Cuomo was in there too somewhere. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah. Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'd like to thank the illustrious and resplendent Dan Bennett for taking the time to visit the saloon tonight. But I got to ask you, because I ask every other guest, would you consider a return just in case you had a fraction of fun here tonight? Just in case?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
I love to come back. Yeah, and a lot of times I didn't get this in, but I refer to myself as Dan Bennett, a name you can swear by. Kind of a gimmick I do.
Okay. All right. Dan Bennett, a name you can swear by. Folks, you got to check out his pages. So I got to ask you again, finally, where can you be found and read? Where are your pages? And I've mentioned your Twitter. You have anything else that you'd like to promote? Because now is the time to do it.
Right. I've got danbennett.com. There's some video there. I'm going to be adding new video, but there's like just a basic write-up, a couple of thumbnail videos you can watch, 2-3 minutes each of just little snippets of parts of the show.
Okay. Outstanding. I really, I gotta. This is so bad of me. The best part of the first hour was I loved listening to you getting wound up because that sounds like me right after the break. So I appreciated that stuff. I really did.
Get wound up just the right way, and just the right probing question, and go crazy. Absolutely.
All right. So Dan Bennett, thank you ever so kindly for being in the show tonight in the saloon, folks. We got to take a break. After that, we're going to come back, and I'll tell you what the most important thing was the takeaway from what occurred in Helsinki. And, of course, the American media maggots, they didn't say one thing about this, not at all.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there. Hey, thanks, Dan.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m., right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider thingies.
The
those
what?
Things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wedday on SHRmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you go.
Against tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are back. It's the second hour. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct on the SHR Media Network. You can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. You can watch the show live right now. Go to the SHR Media Facebook page or go to the SHR Media YouTube channel and you can see it. You can choose it there. Whichever way. You got Facebook, watch there. You got YouTube, watch there. I also heard a nasty rumor to the effect, and I don't know if this is true. Maybe somebody out in the chat room or somebody in the podcast later on can tell me. Or you can send me an email, bz@shrmedia.com. Someone alleges that my show is on iTunes. Now, I don't have Apple and I don't have iTunes, so I can't say for sure if it is or if it isn't. But I've been told that a rumor is floating around that if you want to listen to the show and you have Apple, then you can go to iTunes and find it there. I don't know that for a factorious. I really do not, because I don't have Apple. I tried getting into it. I still have my lovely wifely wife bought me a. It's old now. It's I think its system is so old that it was called like Bleeding Vixen or something like that before there was lollipops and ice cream or whatever the new system, the new OS is now. But it was a 15-inch, and I'd been working in the PC world for a while. And I got on, everyone screamed to me at the top with an amazing crescendo, saying, "Oh, BZ, you need to get into the Apple world because you are going to find out that it is so damned intuitive." Okay, you know BZ and technology. I love intuitive. Intuitive should be us, me, it. But I'm not. I found it about as intuitive as a Galapagos turtle. Tortle, T-O-R-T-L-E, by the way. They were called a tortoise, but now, I'm just telling you now, giving you the update, they're called tortles, T-O-R-T-L-E-S. Apples, no, not finding them happy, not finding them easy to use, so that was the last time that I used Apple. Oh, I did, I have to say, I did make a foray into another world of Apple. I bought a long time at a galaxy far, far away. I bought an iPhone, Apple 3GS, which at the time was supposed to be, the semi-penultimate. I didn't particularly care for that either. So now I've gone into the Samsung world, and I love the Samsungs, and I've got one of their current Notes. And I have to say, I like them. I like their screens. I like their cameras. Blah, 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 blah. Enough of me. What about politics? Well, like I said, as I teased the show earlier, there was one thing that I pulled out of Helsinki. And, say what you will. I'm going to comment about this, and so will Sackhead's Clint if he's available tomorrow. I still don't know yet. I'm going to find out. I will find out, okay? Trust me on that. I will find out. But in any event, I will be talking at great length about Helsinki, what happened with Trump and Putin and all of that tomorrow on the Sackheads Against Tyranny show, because that's going to be a major topic of choice. Now, that having been said, one of the things I noticed completely, conspicuously absent was this story. And once I read it to you, you will go, of course. Wait a minute. What kind of a snap was that? That was terrible. Let's try this again. There, that's better. You will, after I read the story, you'll go, I didn't hear anything about this. Well, duh. I wonder why, and you will completely understand very soon. And then I'm going to throw some lovely things from the internet in here as well. I keep saying this, but they prove it true so many times. It's as if the LDAM, leftists, Democrats, and American media maggots forget that there's this little thing called the internet. And if you know how to type a few things into the internet, into a keyboard, like I've got one here, and one over here, if you know how to type, you can actually go on the internet, on the web, and find things that occurred in the past. It's a shocking discovery, and I'm going to play for your entertainment pleasure a few of these shocking discoveries and a new one that occurred recently. But first, this story, and I don't discount some of the other websites that I get this stuff from. This is from gatewaypundit.com. Putin drops bomb at Helsinki presser, says U.S. intelligence helped move $400,000 to help the Hillary campaign. And if I had a producer, I would have said helped $400,000 for the Hillary campaign. But I don't have a producer, so that's not what you heard. President Donald Trump and President Vladimir Putin held a joint press conference yesterday, in Helsinki, Finland. Putin accused Bill Browder of donating $400,000 to Hillary Clinton. Vladimir Putin, last year, there was one extradition case by the United States. Mueller can use this treaty as an official request to us. In this case, this kind of effort should be a reciprocal one. For instance, we can bring up Mr. Browder. They sent a huge amount of money, and he says it was an error in translation. The first translation was $400 million, but it's actually $400,000. They sent a huge amount of money, $400,000, to Hillary Clinton.
Alleged intelligence officers of Russia. I don't know the full extent of the situation, but the President Trump mentioned this issue, and I will look into it. So far, I can say the following. The things that, off the top of my head, we have an existing agreement between the United States of America and the Russian Federation, an existing treaty that dates back to 1999, the mutual assistance on criminal cases. This treaty is in full effect. It works quite efficiently. On an average, we initiate about 150 criminal cases upon requests from foreign states. For instance, the last year, there was one extradition case upon the request sent by the United States. So this treaty has specific legal procedures.
Well, this is kind of halting, and I'd rather just read the article. So Putin, what he's doing is he's offering, permitting officials in the U.S., he's allowing them, or says he's going to allow them, including Mueller, to Russia to assist in their investigation of the supposed Trump-Russia collusion story. And then he dropped this H-bomb. And he said the U.S. could reciprocate Russia in one of their investigations. And he says, for instance, we can bring up Mr. Browder. This is Dan Browder, by the way, if you want to look on your favorite search engine, Browder, in this particular case. Business associates of Mr. Browder have earned over $1.5 billion in Russia and never paid any taxes, neither in Russia or the United States, and yet the money escaped the country. They were transferred to the United States. They sent a huge amount of money, he says $400 million, but it's actually $400,000, as a contribution to the campaign of Hillary Clinton. That's their personal case. It might have been legal, the contribution itself, but the way the money was earned was illegal. So we have solid reason to believe that some U.S. intelligence officers accompanied and guided these transactions, so we have an interest in questioning them. And that's something that you did not hear in the U.S. news today. Then it just, after that, I don't know, you tell me, I didn't hear that until I dredged up this article late last night, because I was peeking around looking at stuff to assemble the show for tonight. Hence, I found that article. But I also found nothing but, like Dan Bennett was indicating, and like I told him, there was absolute PSH all day yesterday and today because of what Donald John Trump did, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. And I have 2 points to be made by a guy that I very seldom quote because I just don't. He's not my favorite guy. He's a senator from Kentucky. His name is Rand Paul. His dad, Ron Paul, a massive libertarian, and Rand Paul is pretty big L too. I'm little L, as a matter of fact, but nothing like these two guys. Here's an interesting tete-a-tete from Wolfie Blitzer of CNN and Rand Paul. And Wolfie gets just a bit upset. I haven't seen him like this with Rand Paul. Very interesting.
People hate Trump so much, all of that's being lost.
It's not a matter of hating President Trump. It's a matter of...
Maybe I should give you this information as backup. For those who do not know, Rand Paul is not a fan of President Trump at all. He was one of the people, as a matter of fact, that was running for president, one of the 17 people running for president in 2016 against Donald Trump.
What he did today, what he said today, met with President Putin, as you know, for more than 2 hours. Unlike other presidents, especially on foreign soil, he blamed the United States for the bad relationship with Russia. He declined to back his own intelligence community for its assessment. He declined...
Oh, but by the way, I should point out, President Trump walked that back today.
...to support the U.S. law enforcement community, including the Justice Department. He continues, Senator, he continues to call... hold on a second. He continues to call the news media a free press in the...
See, that's what Wolf Blitzer is all about. It's the rest of this stuff is just peripheral. As far as he's concerned, he is wounded. You have wounded him, Donald John Trump. You've wounded him to his very heartibus by doubting everything that comes out of Wolf Blitzer's mouth.
United States, the enemy of the American people. He says the European Union
Wolf, I think I would
is
put
a
this
foe.
in perspective.
Has any other Senator, has any other president in American history done anything like that?
But I think I would put this in perspective. So, for example...
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, Wolf, if you'd shut your pie hole for just a moment or two, I'm going to play some of those cuts for you. Hang on. The volume died. So we're going to have to go back just a bit. And here
example, when you look at the intelligence community, the most recent leaders of the intelligence community, James Clapper and John Brennan. James Clapper perjured himself before the Senate.
I'm talking about Dan
Coates.
Oh, sorry. That goes against the meme, so Wolf Blitzer decides to step in and cut that crap off.
I'm talking about Dan Coates, the current director of national intelligence, who had to issue a state... Senator, I'm not talking about
much of an interview,
earlier.
If you're going to interrupt me on every question, Wolf, we can't really have an interview.
No, I just want to be precise.
If you want to have an
it's
interview,
not Clapper, it's not Brennan, it's Dan
usually,
Coates
Wolf,
and Mike
Wolf,
Pompeo.
You're usually better than this, Wolf, at doing an interview.
He is, by the way, and that's why Wolf Blitzer is lit up that Donald John Trump continues to call CNN. By the way, they consistently have some of the worst ratings, worse than MSNBC, worse than like headline news, for God's sake.
You need to allow the respondent to respond. It does matter who was in charge of the intelligence. It does matter because they started up some of this and ginned up this whole thing that have gone after the president saying he's committed collusion with Russia. No evidence of that, and it continues to go on. Who are the people that started this? James Clapper, who lied to the Senate, said they weren't collecting our information, and yet they were collecting all of our information and housing it in Utah. John Brennan has now accused... let me finish. John Brennan has now accused the president of treason. This is John Brennan, who voted for the Communist Party when he was a young man. John Brennan now thinks he's holier than everybody else, but these people had the power to collect every American's information. And these are the people that I am concerned use their bias against President...
And by the way, a little bit later on tonight, before the end of the show, I'm going to play you another cut that tells you, again, how incredibly overtly, sometimes I can't use anything but the word evil, some of the alphabet agencies are. The NSA. I'm going to have a cut that I'm going to play for you about the NSA later on tonight.
Trump, and absolutely, I'm with the president on this. The intelligence community was full of biased people, including Peter Strzok, McCabe, and dozens of others.
And the FBI, you must admit, the FBI is in fact part of the intelligence community.
And so what about Mike Pompeo and Dan Coates, who both say there is no doubt that Russia interfered, attacked the United States during the presidential election? Did they vote for communists when they were young?
What I would say is, I don't think anybody doubts that the Russians got involved with leaking email and hacking into email.
Do you notice the question? The question, and it's been completely avoided up to this point, certainly by Wolf Blitzer, is there any direct causal linkage between Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, and Russia, and collusion, and hacking? And the answer is an unequivocal no, and that's what Rand Paul is saying.
But there is a question of...
Which is why I respect him for saying this, despite the fact that it's clear he disagrees with much of what Donald John Trump does and says.
Whether or not the election was legitimate. And all of this is a sideways way for those on the left to try to delegitimize Trump and to say he didn't really win the election. When in reality, the election was really about Hillary Clinton being unfit for office, being a dishonest person who her and her husband enriched themselves at taxpayer expense and at the expense of receiving money from people like the Sultan of Brunei and Saudi Arabia. So it was really a much more complicated situation. But what's happened is everybody now says, the Russians, the only reason Trump is president is because of the Russians. So you can see how he would take that personally. And frankly, I don't think anybody in Kentucky, he got nearly 80% of the vote in the mountains. I don't think anybody was influenced at all by anything to do with the Russians. They didn't like Hillary Clinton because she wanted to kill the coal industry in our state.
But Senator, you and I have known each other for a long time. I've interviewed on many occasions. Let me put up on the screen what Dan Coates, the director of national intelligence, a former Republican senator, a former U.S. ambassador to Germany. Russia definitely did try to influence the campaign. That's what he said. Chris Ray.
Then where's the evidence? Show me the evidence. Show me the money. If you don't show me the money, if you don't have the evidence, and then fall back like Peter Strzok on, well, I can't tell you because you're not cleared, then take a big cup of fuck you.
And the FBI director, also named by the president. I have no reason whatsoever to doubt the assessment of the intelligence community. Hold on. Mike Pompeo, all of them said exactly the same thing.
But I would put this in perspective, Wolf. Dov Levine looked at this from the Carnegie Mellon Institute, and he looked at it from 1946 to 2000, and he found 81 times that the U.S. involved themselves and meddled in elections of foreign countries, 36 times that the Soviet Union did. It doesn't make it right, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. Any country that can spy does, and any country that can meddle in foreign elections does.
Stop right there. We know for a fact that Obama sent hundreds of thousands of dollars through another individual middleman over to Israel to make sure that that money was funding the person that was running against Benjamin Netanyahu. That was during the Obama regime, and that was discovered. So that's the Obama administration interfering and meddling in an election, a foreign election of Israel, specifically with the intent to make sure Benjamin Netanyahu was not elected. How more coarse and craven can you get than that? And of course, Wolf does not point that out. He either doesn't know, doesn't remember, or is purposefully omitting that very salient point.
All countries are doing this, but we've elevated this to a higher degree, and we've made this all about the sour grapes of Hillary Clinton losing the election, and it's all partisan politics now. This is truly the Trump derangement syndrome that motivates all of this.
Senator, I got to disagree with you. And I know Dan Coates disagrees with you as well. I'll read the statement he issued today after the president's news conference with Putin. Listen to this, and then I'll give you a chance to respond. We have been clear in our assessments of Russian meddling in the 2016 election and their ongoing pervasive efforts to undermine our democracy, and we will continue to provide unvarnished and objective intelligence in support of our national security.
Wolf, where's the evidence? Give me evidence. I repeat, at the risk of coming from the Department of Redundancy Department, if you have the evidence, proffer the evidence. What is it? Name names. Be specific. If you can't, then I don't want to hear a flippant thing from you.
Go ahead and respond to your former colleague.
I myself can sit here and make any wild-ass allegation that I wish. It doesn't make it true. All that does is put that stuff and Wolf and that guy into the opinion analysis category, absent facts and evidence.
And I don't disagree with anything that was said there. What I would say is that instead of making this about everything's about Trump and accusing Trump of collusion with the Russians and all this craziness that's not true, we should try to protect the integrity of our elections. Nobody is talking about protecting the integrity of the elections. How would you protect?
What do we know about John Podesta as a matter of fact? Of getting into the DNC server, by the way, he clicked on a phishing link, and that helped to break the DNC server. The other important, incredibly important corollary is no one knows where the DNC server is. The FBI didn't demand it. They didn't go find it, and no one can say where it is today. No one is talking about backups, whether they're tape, whether they're on thumb drives, whether they're up in the cloud, and I would wager they probably are up in someone's cloud somewhere, but that is conveniently and purposefully, I submit, omitted as well.
The integrity of our elections, make sure they're decentralized, make sure there's very good controls from the precinct on up, make sure we're not storing the data in a central area where there aren't checks and balances at the local area. There are a lot of ways to make sure our election is not tampered with. Also, it's important when you say the Russians meddled, they hacked into Hillary Clinton's email and revealed some truths about her that weren't very popular. I agree they did that. But the thing is nobody's alleging that votes were changed so that they got into our electoral system. But that is a danger, Senator, and we should guard against that.
Who do you trust, Senator? The American intelligence community, the American law enforcement community, or Vladimir Putin?
What I would say is that all power needs to have checks and balances, and I think our intelligence community has way too much power. The fact that Peter Strzok was able to bring incredible bias towards the president to work every day.
But Senator, who do you believe?
Who do you believe? Us. That's not the question. The right question that should be asked, Wolf, is should that power be unchecked, or should you have a judicial system that says, you know what,
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, let me interject this as well, because this is another situation that everyone seems to have conveniently forgotten. This is back in 2014, I believe. Here's the headline. Indiana joins Idaho in claiming the DHS tried to hack their election systems. Indiana claims DHS scanned the state's electoral system tens of thousands of times without permission. To what end? And could not one say that that is a hack as well? And of course you could. But I continue to say, look at this. Digest this information with your eyes wide open. You can't afford to be a one-trick pony anymore. You need to listen and remember and check the internet about all sorts of things. That's why you have me. That's why you listen to me today.
You have to have warrants. You have to have checks and balances on intelligence.
But who do you believe? The intelligence community of the United States or Putin?
I'm not discounting the allegations that the Russians hacked into Hillary Clinton's emails. I'm not discounting that at all.
So
Wolf can't read between the lines, and what that means is Putin can occasionally be right, and the alphabet agencies can occasionally be right now. But the alphabet agencies, have dragged me, BZ as I want to say, kicking and screaming into the category of how can I fucking believe a thing you say anymore when we're discovering more and more that you are in league with the Democrats and you are absolutely biased and you are not apolitical.
Why don't you just say you believe in the intelligence community, the law enforcement, you access their...
Law enforcement? Do you think I believe the FBI? Do you think I believe what comes out of the 7th floor of the FBI anymore? Because trust me, I speak to agents. I know what they're saying. I know what they're thinking. They talk to me still.
You accept their assessments and move on. Let me read to you a tweet that Newt Gingrich, the former speaker...
Okay, fine. Now we're going to go into Newt Gingrich. Gingrich, I should say. But before we do that, we do have to do this.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
the
thingies. Those
what?
Things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
Against
go.
tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The final half hour. This is the last and final 25 minutes of the show. The first hour tonight, we spoke to Dan Bennett of Dannerisms. That was a great hour. Enjoyed the heck out of that. And we are listening right now to Rand Paul have a little special tete-a-tete with an absolutely indignant Wolf Blitzer.
Just put out, and I'll read it to you right now. President Trump must clarify his statements in Helsinki on our intelligence system and Putin. It is the most serious mistake of his presidency and must be corrected immediately.
And that's exactly what Donald Trump did.
Do you agree with Gingrich?
No, I think people have gotten over top on this and lost the big picture. The big picture is that we should be engaged with Russia. We should have
I'm starting to like Rand Paul better than I did. He does take a larger viewpoint.
Conversations with Russia. We have serious conflicts in various parts of the globe. It would be a mistake not to have open lines of communication with them. And I can tell you what I have told the Russians who are here in the United States when I've conversed with them. Hacking into the election, if they did it, and in all likelihood the evidence looks like they did, it has backfired because it's made relations worse. And so if they want to have better relations, there should be a great deal of incentive as time goes on for them not to do it again because it's made relations so much worse. And so my hope is that we will push the issue and that over time those incentives will be apparent.
I know there's a little delay. I'm here in Helsinki. You're in Washington, so occasionally it might be awkward. Bottom line, Senator, do you believe that what President Trump did today here in Helsinki was good?
I think it was a great idea and a good idea to meet with the Russians and to have engagement, conversations, and to make sure that we don't accidentally stumble into war.
Everybody agrees it's good to have good relations with Russia, to have a dialogue with Russia. But do you believe it was good that the President of the United States, through his
Well, that's just all he's doing is going back and attempting to rehash what was going on. I give to you, however, Exhibit A, and everyone on the left conveniently, and I submit purposely, fails to remember Barack Obama. And this about 25-second cut when he's talking to President Medvedev about the missile system, sotto voce. And they didn't realize the mics were cut. Now, or on, rather. Is this not collusion by Barack Hussein Obama and then President Medvedev? You tell me.
My last election, yeah. And after my election, I have more flexibility.
This is my last election. After my election, I have more flexibility, meaning Obama is telling Medvedev that I can see your viewpoint much easier. And I'm telling you, I'm forewarning you that I will see your viewpoint much more readily after this election.
Yeah, I understand.
And then there's a hand patting going on between Obama and Medvedev. And Medvedev says, I understand. I will transmit this information to Vladimir Putin. But isn't it funny how everyone forgets about that? So I want to know, Rod Rosenstein and Jeff Sessions, you useless piece of crap, camel dung. Oh, so where are you on this investigation into Barack Obama and his attempting to co-opt the United States and make the United States much more conciliatory to Medvedev, to Russia, to Vladimir Putin? Now, this, like I said, this is immured on the internet. You can pull this up. The internet frequently doesn't go away, and this is still here. So if you're looking for actual evidence, by the way, note to the DOJ, note to the special counsel, if you're looking for true fucking evidence of collusion between an American president and Russia, you have to look no further than 25 seconds of this YouTube video right here. And there's your evidence. It's audio. It's video. It doesn't get any better than that. You know, for a second there, I made this kind of gesture. Who's the guy? And folks, if you're on the video portion, who's the guy with the rippling six-pack abs and the nice pectorals and the V-cut T-shirt with the sunglasses, and he's over your tomahawk steak, and he takes salt and he dribbles the salt down his forearm, down his massive forearm. So I was just kind of doing that, and I can't think of the guy's name. Bay? Something Bay? Not Michael Bay. Anyway, that's how weird-ass my brain is these days and tonight. Now, here's something that I'm going to bring up because, again, no one else does. And, again, you expect me to do this because this is the money that you pay me for. And remember, the Democrats are all serious about Russia. Russia. It's Russia collusion. Russia corrupting everything. Russia was so important. They're incredibly important now. We shouldn't be doing anything for Russia. And they are the number one big dog hater of the United States of America. Well, wait a minute. That's not exactly what Barack Hussein Obama was saying in 2012.
That you recognize that Al-Qaeda is a threat. Because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America...
This is a debate with Mittens Romney.
You said Russia, not Al-Qaeda. You said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back because the Cold War's been over for 20 years. But, Governor, when it comes to our foreign policy, you seem to want to import the foreign policies of the 1980s, just like the social policies of the 1950s.
Okay, so he can stand on his pedestal and deign to lecture Mitt Romney about that. And isn't it funny how Russia wasn't important then? Now Russia's important. And so, yeah, blah, 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 Rentune. I guess they want their cake and they want to eat it too. Or as someone that I know and love says, they want to have their cake and eat it too, or eat their cake and have it too. And it goes one of the other ways. And I thought it was a really stupid kind of an analogy anyway. But here's another bit of factoid that I discovered for you these days. And we're hearing about it. Everyone, the DC and the LDAM, their heads were popping off. Crankshafts were being thrown. There was blood in the gutters. What do the American people have to think about the importance of Russia and the Russia situation in the United States? Well, that's odd. I happen to have that information right here. This is from a most recent Gallup poll. And this is the percentage of Americans mentioning various issues as the nation's most important problems. And let's see, what I discovered is that Russia... The Russia situation, Putin, Trump, Russia. That's right. That's number 38 in 49 issues that Americans think are important. The first issue right now, I'm just going to go down the line so that you can hear what Americans think is important right now, and the incredible importance of Putin and Russia and Trump and blah, 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 blah. Number 1, economy in general. 2, unemployment and jobs. 3, gap between rich and poor. 4, federal budget deficit, federal debt. Oh, I'm kind of surprised at that one. 5, foreign trade deficit. Then 6, taxes. 7, wage issues. 8, fuel oil prices. 9, corporate corruption. 10, lack of money. 11, high cost of living and inflation. 12, dissatisfaction with government, poor leadership. 13, immigration, illegal aliens. Wow, that's pretty far up there as well. 14, race relations, racism. 15, healthcare. 16, lack of respect for each other. 17, unifying the country. 18, guns. 19, ethics, morality, religious, family, decline. Kind of surprised on that one, too. 19, poverty, hunger, homelessness. 20, national security. 21, international issues and problems. 22, environment, pollution. 23, crime, violence. 24, the media. 25, education. 26, school shootings. 27, drugs. 28, judicial system, courts and laws. 28, welfare. 29, terrorism. 30, wars. War, nonspecific, fear of war. 30, situation with North Korea. 31, children's behavior, way they are raised. 32, care for the elderly, Medicare. 33, elections, election reform. 34, advancement of computers technology. 35, situation with Russia. Okay, I misread that. And then below that, Social Security, foreign policy, overseas, abortion, situation in Iraq, lack of military defense. Gay rights and issues are the 5th from last. And so there you have it from a Gallup poll. Now we also find out this little interesting tidbit that you have not heard trumpeted to the ceiling. Facebook is now coming out and saying the Russian election meddling was limited to a few thousand of some 2 billion with a B posts. Executives from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube told Congress today, Tuesday, unless you're back on the East Coast and in which it's tomorrow, Wednesday. They told Congress today that while they had identified accounts and posts linked to Russian internet operatives, their activity during the 2016 election was but a drop in the social media ocean. Twice, Juniper Downs, a YouTube executive, said they found a mere $5,000 in spending and some 1,000 videos that could be traced to Russian meddling. Not what the media wants you to know, and that's not how they portray it. And at another point in the House Judiciary Committee hearing, Facebook's head of global policy management, Monica Bickert, said that a few thousand out of some 2 billion with a B posts were ascribed to Russian sources. Indeed, the executives spoke only of Russian meddling and repeatedly dodged questions about whether they had found, listen to this, dodged questions as to whether they had found similar efforts from other countries perceived as hostile to the United States, such as China and North Korea. China, in my opinion, is the number one threat to the United States, and we ignore China to our peril. But because it's not just politically correct, well, yeah, we are ignoring China. But speaking of ignoring and speaking of ignorance, here's what your friendly local socialist who just got elected in New York has to say about Israel and the occupiers of Palestine. And I play this because this is the new you on the Socialist Democrats.
But I am, of course, the dynamic there in terms of geopolitics and the war in the Middle East is very different than people expressing their First Amendment.
And this is interesting because this is an interviewer on firing line, I should say, interviewing a socialist Democrat, all of 28 years old. So just ask her. I'm sure she knows everything. But even this host kind of pushes back. Ooh, I'm not sure that's so good.
And that right to protest.
Well, yes, but I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition. And that's
the occupation of Palestine by Israel. Really?
To me is just where I tend to come from on this issue.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
Okay, that's a softball question, meaning, okay, now I'm giving you the ability to extricate yourself out of this fecal material into which you've shoved your head.
I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing in some of these areas and places where where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty in access to their housing and homes.
Difficulty.
Do you think you can expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd also just I am not the expert.
Yeah, and then she admits, yeah, I guess I really am a stupid blah, 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 blah.
Expert on geopolitics on this issue.
Meaning, I'm not very smart. Thanks for at least admitting it and telling us the truth. This is a glorious cut that I'm going to play just on account of because I love it. Remember when Trump went to NATO? Remember when Trump sat down at a big table in front of a lot of people and then skewered Germany with the facts and skewered Germany with Russia? Because after all, it's all about Russia, Russia, Russia. I love the hell out of this. But Trump tells the truth about the U.S. and the German relationship with Russia. And just who is beholden to Russia? Really? Is it Trump? Is it the U.S.? I wonder. Let's listen.
Sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries, and then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia, where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying...
By the way, I should tell you that in this video, all the U.S. contingent is on the right, and the German and other NATO allies are on the left, and they're not smiling at all.
Paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate. And the former chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas. Ultimately, Germany will have...
Hey, sorry, Germany, poleaxed once again, apparently.
Have almost 70% of their country controlled by Russia with natural gas. So you tell me, is that appropriate? I mean, I've been complaining about this.
Okay, stop. What is he doing also as a businessman? Who's sitting on the largest fields of natural gas in the known universe, certainly on planet Earth and perhaps even on Zephron as well? Oh, that's right, the United States of America. Underlying subtext, hey, Germany, you need natural gas? I think we have ships with big round things on their decks. All you have to do is ask.
From the time I got in, it should have never been allowed to have happened. But Germany is totally controlled by Russia because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline. And you tell me if that's appropriate, because I think it's not. And I
love the hell out of that. Okay, I'm sorry. That's once again BZ and a fistful of Schadenfreude. Wasn't that was a movie, I think, wasn't it? A fistful of Schadenfreude. Or something to that effect. Here's another article. This is from the UK Sun. And Germany is kind of a laughingstock. And this, by the way, timing is everything. This article was released the day or day before Trump went to NATO and then upbraided Germany in that cut right there. This article says, Germany's soldiers forced to use broomsticks for guns as Donald Trump blasts Angela Merkel over NATO spending. This highly embarrassing episode, revealed in a leaked report, is just the beginning of the country's woes as it fights to reverse chronic army shortages. Well, why should they have gotten away with chronic army shortages in the first place? And the answer is, well, they never should have. I got about 6 more minutes before the end of the show. I promised that I was going to play this cut about the NSA, and the NSA is certainly on the up and up and up. You can't second guess anything that the alphabet agencies say because they're always working for you, the American taxpayer and the American customer, because, hey, the NSA is looking out for you, kids.
The National Security Agency deleting nearly 700 million phone call and text records over privacy violations. The NSA blaming, quote, technical irregularities in the call record data it received from phone companies. Now, the NSA received some of the data that includes phone numbers and the length of call, but not the content. Joining me now is Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton.
I likes me a heapin' helping of Tom Fitton. By the way, just thought I'd interject.
Tom, we knew that they were digging up more than what Jim Clapper or the other NSA officials were telling us, didn't we?
Oh, but wait, Wolf Blitzer says that we can trust Jim Clapper. He says we can trust John Brennan. I'm sorry, communist John Brennan.
No one expected when the authorities were first granted back in 2001, and frankly, it was the left that was most concerned about it. It turned out they were right, that the process would be abused so much that they would be gathering essentially all the phone records.
Wait. The NSA abusing the privilege of collecting information? That is completely counter to what James Clapper said. He swore in an open hearing in front of the public and the House and everybody. And
they possibly could get. That was pulled back once it became public. But it looks like, again, they went way far overboard, and they're blaming the phone companies for giving them too many documents. And then they followed up on those requests and got even more documents they weren't supposed to have. And this gets to a basic competence level with respect to the NSA. Are they doing too much here by thinking they need to investigate all these phone records when they really can't handle it competently? And David, on the other hand...
Tom, excuse, I got to interrupt because I don't think it's a matter of competence. I think it's a matter of honesty. And
Thank you. That deserves one of these. Absolutely. Complete concurrence with that
straightforwardness. Because remember, we caught Jim Clapper in a lie. Remember the testimony he gave before Congress when he denied that any of this was going on, and then he had to pull it back. I can't remember the absurd way.
Anybody else?
The linguistical maneuvering he did to try to pull back from what he had originally said. But I think more than incompetence, it's a matter of simply not being honest with the American public.
Well, the courts have criticized the NSA for that very issue even recently. And in this case, they're destroying records. I don't know if that means that we can't figure out who did what and wrong and whether there can be accountability there. I think the court's overseeing this process.
What would be the motivation for the NSA destroying or deleting close to 700 million phone and text records? Anybody have a thought on that?
Need to step in. This is where congressional oversight's been so sorely lacking. The NSA goes and gets tens of millions, hundreds of millions of records they don't have a right to. They destroy them, and we're supposed to move on. That's not the way it's supposed to work. But believe me, as I was saying on Twitter earlier, David, don't worry. All those unmaskings took place of NSA material thanks by the Obama administration, who was in large measure responsible for this lawlessness that took place in terms of getting records they didn't have a right to under the law.
Right, because all those people needed to be unmasked if they were to keep up with their various shenanigans that we've discovered that they have been involved in consistently over the years and years and years. And, of course, we would never have discovered had Hillary Rodham Clinton been installed as President of the United States of America, right?
Monsieur has unlocked
right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, BZEP, on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Send me hate mail at bz@shrmedia.com. My original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at reverbnation.com. Promotional consideration by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And of course, by Pratt & Whitney Engines. Thrust, you can trust. My tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. And thank you for being here tonight. Thanks to Dan Bennett for being here the entire first hour. Thanks to everyone being in chat. Thanks to everyone listening in podcast. God bless, take care, be safe. Tomorrow night, Sackheads against Tyranny. Same bat time, same bat channel. Aloha.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing? Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.